Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to head up towards Gothenburg once again. Göteborg, as you would say in Swedish, the Swedish craft beer capital up there on the west coast. Got to get that Gothenburg catchphrase in when we're looking at a Gothenburg beer. A little bit of a channel tradition these days. But for this review we're going to return to one of my favourite Swedish breweries and have a look at one of their latest releases. And I'm quite curious about this one actually, because this is a beer that I've heard is really pretty nice actually, and this brewery kind of almost at its best from what I was hearing. So for this one we are going to head out to Landvetter, to the east of Gothenburg, quite close to the airport, and we're having a look at yet another beer from Ibus Bryggeri, and this must be review number 30 or so that I've done from these guys here on the channel, probably even more than that. But for this one we are going to have a look at the Juicy Fruity. This one is a New England Hazy Double IPA, however you want to call it, coming in 8% ABV. It's part of the Crush series, which is of course their New England Double IPA series that they do, and this one, as I say, is supposed to be really quite nice. This beer was released as part of the Lokal Småskaligt assortment for November of 2020 through Systembolaget here in Sweden. I believe the exact release date was the 1st of the month. So yeah, really curious to see how this one turns out. I've heard that this is one of the best double IPAs that Ibus have done yet, so I'm really hoping that this does turn out to be very nice actually, and it does have quite an impressive hop bill on it, but we'll come to that later. But yeah, one of the things I really love about Ibus is they're not afraid to try different things. I get pretty much every beer that these guys release through Systembolaget. I really keep an eye out for these guys to see what they're doing, and they've got a whole host of different series of beers these days. So they've got this one, of course, the Crush, which is the double IPAs, the New England double IPAs. They've got the Fresh, which is the New England single IPAs, the Bite, which is the West Coast IPAs. They've got their Future series, which is the barrel aging series, and you know they've got various other ones in there as well actually. But yeah, some of the best beers, or some of the beers that I would really recommend you should try from Ibus. Try some of the things from the Crush series, try the Bite series as well. But Tropic Thunder is a little bit of a Swedish classic, the kind of, I don't know if you could say the OG, the original Swedish sour, but the Egypt Imperial Stout as well is a little bit of a kind of cult classic Swedish beer, and those are probably the two sort of, almost could we say, like Godfather beers that I would recommend you would try from Ibus. If you can get a hold of those two, those are two very classic Swedish craft beers, so those are ones that I definitely need to try and get a hold of for my other beer tubing friends to review. But yeah, the Crush series, I think they've only started releasing these through Systembolaget over 2020. They've got their Bite series West Coast IPAs now, and the Fresh single IPA series, and I think they released a couple of those in 2019 as well, if I remember rightly. But yeah, these guys, very, very capable brewery in my mind, and I always enjoy reviewing the new stuff that these guys are doing. So if you're interested in Swedish beer, Ibus Bryggeri is a very good place to start, and they have been around for quite a little while. One of the more established and a very well respected Swedish breweries, I should say. So yeah, curious to see how this one turns out, and as always I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So let's see how we get on. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Ibus Bryggeri before, and you will no doubt see more added to that list in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Ibus Bryggeri then, on to my brewery notes. So Ibus Bryggeri, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Landvetter on the outskirts of Gothenburg. I think it's kind of to the northeast of the city, if I remember rightly, but this brewery is actually very close to Gothenburg Landvetter Airport. So if you're on a wee stopover, you know, maybe you can go in and see about and have a little visit to the brewery, who knows. But yeah, you can't buy beers from the brewery in Sweden, unfortunately. That's something the government really need to change. But yeah, very close to Gothenburg Landvetter Airport. But this brewery, as I said, has been around for quite a little while. It was established back in 2005 in Mölndal, to the south of Gothenburg, by Mikael Engström Dugge, and the brewery, of course, takes its name from him, Dugge, Ibus Bryggeri. Brewery. But a few years prior to founding the brewery, Mikael had actually met an Englishman who was selling second-hand breweries, and this really got him thinking about brewing his own beer. So he studied the Swedish alcohol laws, which as we know are very complex. He visited various other breweries around the country, and he started buying equipment to put together his own brewery, which culminated with the opening of the first brewery in Mölndal in 2005. Over the following years they continued to grow their capacity, but they quite quickly outgrew this space, and by 2009 we decided that they were going to move on, and then they secured a new premises in Landvetter close to the airport, which they moved into the next year in 2010. The older brewery had a capacity of around 1,500 hectolitres of beer per year, but the new brewery started with a capacity of 8,000 hectolitres per year, and this has been more than doubled in recent years, and they do have even more space to expand that further. Over the years, this brewery has become very well known for their fruit and their sour beers, and also for their imperial stouts as well. Like I said to you, Tropic Thunder and Egypt, Tropic Thunder on the sour side and Egypt on the imperial stout side of things, those are probably the two classic beers that these guys should be known for. But more recently they've been investing their time in producing lots of different IPAs and double IPAs, which has been very interesting to watch, and they've also invested a lot in their Future Series barrel aging program as well. And a few videos ago you would have seen me review one of the stouts from that series, which was, I have to say, very, very nice actually. That's one of the best barrel aged stouts I've had from Dugas Brewery so far. But these guys are also one of the co-owners of the Brewers Beer Bars in Gothenburg. The original one is on Tredje Långgatan in the middle of the city. There is another one which I can't remember the name of the street that's on, but Tredje Långgatan, as I say, is the original one. You can check out my out and about video I did there if you are interested in that. I would highly recommend that you go and visit that bar. But that is co-owned by Dugas, All In Brewing. And the other thing that's interesting about this brewery is that Mikael's daughter Ida and her husband John, they are the owners of Electric Nurse Brewery. And you can also find a few of those Electric Nurse beers in the Brewers Beer Bars as well. I'm not sure if they are one of the co-owners of the Brewers Beer Bars, but certainly a good number of the Electric Nurse beers are brewed at Dugas Brewery, but they've been brewing a little bit in Uppsala these days as well. So yeah, definitely a brewery that you want to check out. As I say, you can check out the Brewers Beer Bars in Gothenburg, and you can order these beers nationwide throughout Sweden. I'm not sure how far afield the Dugas beers are being exported at the moment, but I've certainly seen a couple of the Dugas beers I saw them in Valhalla's Goat actually in Glasgow, back home in Scotland, and I'm not sure how further afield than that they are going. I don't know if I saw one or two of them in Hong Kong actually. I certainly saw Bryggeri from Landskrona, and they probably are they probably have a similar kind of status, if you like, in terms of being established as a craft brewery here in Sweden to Dugas in my mind. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there are Dugas bottles in some random places around the world. If you are watching this video from further afield, let me know where you're watching it from in the comments section below. That's always interesting to hear. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Dugas Brewery for the moment. As I say, a very, very well respected Swedish brewery, and one that I would recommend you try. But if you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one before we open it up. As you can see, it is actually quite typical for Dugas. It's got some really, really nice kind of thing in there. It's almost a little bit like the inside of a beehive or something. That kind of almost honeycomb type background that it has. But yeah, Dugas Brewery's beers are always nicely presented. But there you can see it says Lavish Liquid on there. There you can see another one of the Dugas Brewery symbols. They do have quite a few of them, of course, but yeah, this is probably the most recognisable one, Dugas. And then on the side you can see Crush Series Double IPA. So it says here, the Crush Series is all that we have learnt during our journey towards the perfect double IPA. Hops everywhere and haze all over, fruity notes in abundance and then some. This is juicy, fruity, tastes what is called lush. So yeah, plain gold bottle cap on this one. The hops in this beer, incidentally, because these were listed on the website, this one has Mosaic, Centennial, Citra and Nelson Sauvin in it. Mosaic, we know, lovely juicy kind of tangerine notes, American hops. Centennial has that lovely big lemony zesty quality. Citra is the classic high alpha acid hop, lots of mangoes and other complexities, and then Nelson Sauvin is that big beast from New Zealand with those white, green, grapey characters. So yeah, it's a lovely, lovely combination, this, and I'm curious to see how it turns out. So yeah, let's get this guy out then and we'll get on with the tasting. I'm very curious to see what this one has in store for us. Ooh, nice little bit of smoke on the opening there, bottle cap down, and let's get this guy into the glass. There we go. Ooh. This does look pretty nice, I have to say. So, yeah, no sediment in the bottle, just a tiny little bit there, but that's to be understood. There's nothing wrong with that, of course. And yeah, does it say, what does it have? Yeah, it's oats and wheat in this one, so there we are. But yeah, this one I have to say, this is one of the, I think this is one of the paler ones, and also I would say that this is one of the hazier double IPAs that we've had from Dugas in recent times, actually. One of the things that I'd commented on in the last reviews from this brewery was that their mouthfeels were a little bit kind of not quite as thick and a little bit more slick rather than anything else. So I'm curious to see about this one, because this beer is definitely more hazy than the bubblegummy, or this beer is definitely more hazy than both bubblegummy and Sunshine Orchard were. So I think this could be really interesting. You can see that the beer itself poured with about just under a half, somewhere between a 1/3 and 1/2 frothy white coloured head there. That is fading away just to be a very, very thin foamy layer there, and there's a nice foamy ring around the edge of the glass, but it certainly looks quite nice. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head, and you can see this beer is pretty damn hazy actually. There is a good level of haze to this one, so yeah, that is pretty impressive actually. So yeah, I do like how this one is, kind of goes together. Yeah, and in terms of its colour, what would we say about this? I think this one is a little bit of a kind of, it's a cross between a sort of light kind of pineapple juice if you like, but it does also have a little bit of the richness of a mango juice. So yeah, we always compare the New England IPAs to different kind of fruit juices here on the channel, because I think that's a very good kind of frame of reference for them. But yeah, lovely, nice kind of pale yellowy type colour this one. It's not the palest of New England IPAs that I've seen, but then again it does have a bit of that richness in there too, so lovely. Lovely little bit of colour in this one, I have to say. It looks really nice. So yeah, nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of appearance. Definitely one of the more hazy ones that I've come across from Dugas in my opinion. But yeah, when it's 8% ABV, that means you've got a fairly decent whack of wheat and oats in it. So you do kind of expect it to have this sort of level of haze to it. But yeah, let's have a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on with this one. I am excited for this beer, I have to say. Ooh, yeah, this one has a little bit more of a kind of, this one's definitely got a little bit more malty quality to it, so that should be quite nice. Ooh, yeah, that is nice. So yeah, for me, first impression of this beer is that the malty side of it comes out. It's got a good little bit of citrusy zest to it, and in fairness, when you've got Centennial in there, you're going to get that. Centennial gives you that big lemony note, and we'll talk about that later though. But straight away with this beer, you can smell that big, thick, oaty creaminess out of it. There is a nice little bit of wheaty bitiness there, especially at the back of the nose. Yeah, this one comes across as really nicely balanced in its malt base. Yeah, I think this one, straight away with this one, you can smell that lovely big oaty, creamy kind of note out of it, and as I say, that you get the nice kind of, you do get a little bit of that crisp kind of white bready note underneath, and you've got quite a bit of a bite coming out of the wheat in this one. The malt base is really, really nicely balanced, I have to say, so I like how that goes together. I do like how that goes together in this one. Yeah. Big malty beast of a beer, this one, I think. But it's obviously got a hell of a lot of hoppy character to it as well. But this one, in terms of its aroma, it certainly strikes me as one of the more big, creamy, oaty New England IPAs that I've had from Dugas so far. And their beers that I've had before have always been really quite slick and really quite drinkable. This one seems as if they are going to take it in a little bit of a different direction. So I'm curious to see about this when we actually taste it. But the malt base, to me, is quite straight shooting. You do get a nice little bit of a, you do get a wee touch of a kind of Werther's original slightly buttery candy thing out of this, but that's quite minimal. For me, it's all about the big oaty kind of creaminess that's coming out of the malt base in this one. So yeah, as you'll know if you've watched the channel for any length of time, I'm a sucker for a good malt base in beers, and I think this one is coming across pretty nicely. So yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, I don't think we need to say much more about the malt base in this one. On the hoppy side of things, there's a big floral aromaticity out of this one, and also a nice big grassy zestiness there. Those two components are really pushing their way out of the beer, and it's got a lovely big kind of grassy, zesty sort of thing, which is really nice. So yeah, I like this. There's a little bit of earthiness in the back of the nose there, and that'll be the mosaic that's just going to give you that little note of earthiness. But yeah, Centennial is giving you the big zestiness, and the other hops are giving you some really nice big floral aromaticity as well. All of these hops are capable of giving you that big floral aromatic note. Remember though that these hops are most likely added within the last half hour of the boil, because that's when you're going to get the most flavour and an aroma component out of them. But it could be, there might be another bittering hop in this one, maybe a little bit of, say, like Tomahawk or Columbus or something like that. Yeah, they might well have done that, but yeah, you know, Nelson Sauvin is about 16% alpha acid, Citra is about 13-14, Mosaic about the same. I think Centennial comes in between 11 and 12, so all of these hops have big alpha acid contents, and they will give you a big spicy floral aromatic, you know, to the beer if you add them earlier on in the boil. But yeah, the aroma on the green side of things here is really nice. Just a little tiny bit of earthiness, big floral aromatic notes, almost leaning towards the spicy side of things, and a good grassy, zesty character in there. So I really like how that goes together in this one. For me, the aroma on the green side of things is nice, and it sort of balances a bit that you've got a good bit of bitey wheat in there, a good little bit of floral aromaticity, and you've got the nice, the zestiness I think gives the beer a real freshness, but you've got that big oaty creaminess there, just kind of balancing it, sitting in the middle, and then the other kind of more punchy notes to the beer are sitting there on the outside. It's an interesting aroma, this one, I have to say. And yeah, the fruity side of this beer as well is really nice. You definitely get a little bit of that stronger kind of passion fruity note in there, and some of the juicy mangoes. That's the Citra that's giving you that for sure. And you get the more kind of oily characteristics underneath too. You get the nice juicy tangerines from the Mosaic in there, and I think further forward on the nose you get the Nelson Sauvin giving you that white green grapey character, and I think there's a little bit of gooseberry in there as well. I think when you put Citra and Nelson Sauvin together, some of the complexities that you get from Citra really amplify the kind of grapey notes of the Nelson Sauvin, and you can really get that out of this one. Because yeah, the more that you smell of this beer, the more oily I think it becomes, and you get the Nelson Sauvin white green grape, and you also get a little bit of the you also get more of that kind of juicy tangerine note from the Mosaic in there as well. But yeah, definitely a nice bit of a mango behind there as well, and you've got that big lemony zesty. Centennial note coming out of it as well. So I really like how that goes together in this one. This has got a real bite to it, this beer. I think that's what's interesting about this one. So it says juicy fruity, but I actually find this to be one of the more kind of bitey New England IPAs that I've had from Dugas in the Aroma. So yeah, that does make me quite curious about this one, I have to say. Yeah, but it's got a lovely aroma. All of the hops are kind of contributing to it there. The big zesty notes from Centennial, like I said, the more oily notes both from Nelson Sauvin and Mosaic. Then you've got the big tropical notes coming in from the Citra as well. So take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma. This is quite an interesting beer. I'm curious to see whether any of my predictions are right. So let's have a taste of this one then. This is the Juicy Fruity, one of the Crush Series double IPAs, coming in at 8% ABV from Dugas Brewery and Landvetter on the outskirts of Gothenburg in Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange Skål. Ooh, yeah, that is pretty nice actually. This one's definitely a little bit thicker and a little bit more oily and things compared to some of the other Dugas ones that we've had before. I like this. This is very different to the bubblegummy and the Sunshine Orchard that we had before. Nearly forgot the name of that there. Yeah, this is nice. It comes across as very clean, but it does have a degree of oiliness to it and a degree of kind of creaminess as well. But I'm going to say straight away to Dugas, thumbs up on this one. I think this is, the other IPAs were good, but this one I think just is a little bit better for me. It just kind of suits my palate a little bit more. And this is always the thing, when you try different beers from the same brewery, you're going to get ones where you think, oh no, that one really did it for me. You know, some people like more orangey leaning hops, some people like the more tropically fruit side of things. So different people are going to like different beers, but this one for me, I think, is really quite nicely done, I have to say. So thumbs up to Dugas for this. I've been really impressed with the last 2 beers I've had from them, actually, and the other one was one of those big stouts, like I mentioned. Punch Praline. That was very nice. So yeah, this is a lovely, clean, and it does have a little bit of a cleanliness and slickness to it, actually. So I really like how that goes together in this one. But yeah, it really is very nice, this one. Someone's just about to come home, so you're probably hearing the dogs again. But yeah, with this beer, you've got a lovely, with this one, let's try and break down the flavour then. You get a lovely kind of white bready character to the beer, that blankets the middle of the tongue, but the oatiness in this one I think really kind of dominates. And then when you go to the back third of your palate, you can feel the wheaty notes to the beer. It's got a good little bit, it really kind of thickens up a little bit. You do get some really nice thicker white bready characters to it. It's got a little bit more bitiness on the very back of the palate too, but again, as you move further forward in this one, you really get more of the you do get a little bit more of the kind of smoothness of the wheat coming out, which is really, really nice. But then yeah, as you go to the middle third of your tongue, you can definitely feel the oaty creaminess just thickening up a little bit out of this one, which is really, really nice. I love how that goes together. Yeah, it's good, it's definitely good. This is very nice, actually. I can see why they called it fruity juicy, because the fruits in this one, they are definitely very nice and juicy, but they've definitely got a juicy, but they've got a very nice kind of cleanliness to it as well. So yeah, it's really good. So yeah, this beer does get a thumbs up from me. My brain's not working because of the dog's barking, but yeah, this is really nice. As I say, middle of your palate, that you get that nice, very kind of the white bready notes in this beer develop to be a little bit softer, but on top of that, you get some nice kind of creamy oats, and in the very centre of your palate, you get a nice, you do get a nice sort of Werther's Original kind of slightly butter candy type flavour at this one, but it's not too big. I do find this one to be more kind of smooth and oaty and creamy rather than anything else. But yeah, the further you go into the aftertaste, I think some of the wheat, the bitiness of the wheat starts to come out, but it's got a lovely smooth character to it as well, I have to say. I do like how that goes together in this one. The malt base for me is really nicely done, and it gives the beers, it gives this beer a little bit more thickness, and I do have to admit, I think that was one of the things that was lacking a little bit in some of the other IPAs that I had recently from Dugas. The mouthfeel was just a little touch too thin for me, whereas this one, I think they've really corrected that, and it works very well for this beer in my mind. So yeah, this is very, very nice. Not much more to say about the malt base, to be honest. Again, it is very, very straight shooting. The focus on this beer really should be on, 1, the balance of the beer, and 2, the fruits. Sorry about the edit there, guys. Again, problem with the camera memory card. Annoying, very annoying. But yeah, as I was saying, the green side of the hops on this beer is really nice. Little bit of earthiness in the back of the palate. As you move further forward, some nice floral aromaticity. That lingers into the aftertaste. And then on the front curve of the palate, you just get a little bit of lighter grassiness, but nowhere near as kind of zesty and things as the Aroma would have you believe. So yeah, that balances out quite nicely. The earthiness just has a wee bit more prominence to it, as I was saying. But yeah, on the fruity side of things then, as I always say, on the front third of your palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble, where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. And for me, the fruity side of this beer is very, very nice. That's definitely the highlight of it, and you can see why they would call it fruity juicy, to be honest with you. So yeah, let's focus on that now. So yeah, this one, the fruitiness has a good balance between being quite clean and juicy, but it also has just a little touch of oiliness to it as well. So if you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, you do have just a wee touch of passion fruit in there, especially on the border between the front third of your palate and the middle third of your palate. But as you move further forward, it's definitely got a lighter kind of, it's got a really nice lighter mangoey, juicy quality to it. You get one or two little apricot notes in there, a little bit papaya. These qualities that I'm talking about here are most definitely the Citra. That's the Citra that's giving you that. And then as you move further forward, you start to get the more oily notes, both from the Mosaic and from the Nelson Sauvin. You can feel these hops just kind of playing around with each other a little bit. You get that white, green, grapey sort of thing sitting on top, and I think you get the more orangey, oily, tangerine sort of thing from the Mosaic underneath. These two flavours are very much kind of mixing together actually. It almost gives you the impression of a wee bit of gooseberry, if you like actually. Mosaic and Nelson Sauvin go really nicely together, I have to say. So yeah, I definitely like that about this beer. And the other thing to consider here is that Citra can give you some lemon limey characters as well, so that's going to amplify, I think, what's going on with this one. But then as you reach the kind of front part, the kind of front tip of the tongue almost, that's when you start to get the Centennial. You'll notice that as you move further forward on that front third of your tongue, you'll get more of the kind of lemon, the kind of lemony notes out of it, and that is the Centennial really starting to show its head. So yeah, the Centennial is the one that's responsible for that nice little bit of zestiness, that big lemony zestiness that you have around the kind of front edge of your palate there, and that adds a nice bit of depth to the beer, and it sort of balances it out as well with the kind of wheaty bitiness and the slight earthiness that the beer has, along with that nice aromaticity. So the fruity juicy notes that you get out of this one, if you know these hops, it is pretty much what you expect, but this is one of these beers where it's just very well constructed and very well crafted, and I think that's why it goes down really well. I'd be very curious to try this on tap, because out of the bottle it comes across really nicely. I think this one is pretty spot on. This could be the best double IPA I've had from Dugas Bryggeri so far, I would say. So well done to them for this one. They've definitely thickened up the mouthfeel here a bit, and I think that really suits the profile of this beer particularly well. So yeah, this one for me is really nice. I like, I've always been a sucker. I love Nelson Sauvin, I love Enigma as well. I love those white, green, grapey notes. Big fan of grape juice, and I love the kind of orangey leaning IPAs. And I do feel that with this one, the Citra is giving the beer a bit of the depth. You know, the Centennial is also doing that. And I do feel that with this one, the more oily characteristics of the Mosaic and the Nelson Sauvin are kind of jumping out of this one a little bit more. And maybe that's why I enjoy this one quite as much as I do. But regardless of that, you know, I think most of you that are watching, I would assume, that try this beer will quite enjoy this one. Definitely a bit thicker and definitely a bit more oily, pardon me, compared to some of the other beers from the Crush series before. So well done to Dugas on this one. I really like this. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I think we've covered the flavour profile on this one quite a lot. So mouthfeel wise, where would we place this on the scale? I would say this one is, yeah, this is kind of top end of mid-bodied, bottom end of full-bodied. Mouthfeel is very, very smooth. It does have a nice degree of oiliness to it, but at the same time you get a little bit of that kind of cleanliness that you expect. It does almost taste like it's from a bit further north in Sweden, just because of the level of cleanliness you get out of this one. So it's a really nice balance they have in the mouthfeel here. It's almost got a bit of slickness to it as well, which I quite like, but definitely thicker than some of the other ones we've had from Dugas previously. In terms of IBUs and bitterness, yeah, in terms of IBUs and bitterness, I would say this one, I think this one is maybe about 30 or 40 IBUs. It seems kind of quite standard. I mean, for a double IP, I think, yeah, you're going to have a little bit more, so I would guess about 40 with this one, because it does have a nice little bit of floral aromaticity, a little bit of earthiness, and a bit of zestiness as well. So I think this one could be sitting about 40 IBUs. There's some really nice smoothness in the malt base here, a little touch of sweetness, but yeah, I would say overall quite smooth and quite creamy, a little touch bitey, and then you've also got some nice oily but still quite juicy fruity characters out of this one. So I really like how this beer goes together. So it does get a big thumbs up from me, this one. So yeah, I think this is potentially the best double IPA that I've had from them so far. And remember, as we always say, beer is quite subjective, so different people will say different things and will prefer different beers to others. But again, guys, sorry, memory card is being a pain. But yeah, like I was saying with this one, I really like this one because of the oiliness that you get both from the Mosaic and the Nelson Sauvignon. They just add a really nice kind of component to the flavour there, and the Citra really gives it that nice tropical depth, whereas the Centennial is giving you a nice little bit of zestiness to it as well. And I think the combination in this beer just works really quite well. If you know these hops, this beer isn't doing anything overly surprising on the fruity side of things, but it just works really well. This is just a very, very well kind of crafted one, so nothing surprising about the New England double IPA style here, nothing surprising about it when you consider the hops, but this is just a very, very well crafted beer, so it gets a big thumbs up from me. And well done to Dugas on this one. As I say, just a little bit of a thicker mouthfeel, and I think that makes the beer just feel that bit more rounded compared to some of the other ones that they've done before. So yeah, I really like this one. But as I say, beer is subjective, different people like different things. But yeah, I think that kind of rounds off this review really quite nicely. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Dugas Brewery as well. We will no doubt return to these guys at some point in the fairly near future. You will see many, many more beers reviewed from these guys, and we've got another three that we will end up looking at this month. But yeah, definitely nice to try this one for you. I always enjoy trying different IPAs from these guys, so yeah, try this one for yourself. I think this is probably the best one from the Crush series that I've had so far. And as I said, Dugas, very, very well respected Swedish brewery in my experience, so I would highly recommend that you check these guys out if you get the chance. So yeah, thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, check out Dugas Brewery, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below, as I said, and I will catch you guys very soon. This one was the Fruity Juicy 8% New England Hazy Double IPA from the Crush series from Dugas Brewery and Landvetter on the outskirts of Gothenburg. Slange, skull, cheers, make sure you try this beer. Pretty much my favourite one. Probably my favourite IPA that I've had from Dugas so far. Let's go with that. Tomorrow you will see review number 2500, so make sure you check that one out. Slange, skull, cheers.